Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to this historical explainer. Today, we are unpacking the leadership of four monumental figures in Islamic history who faced, well, severe existential crises. We're talking about those terrifying moments where the survival of their entire civilizations literally hung by a single thread. And we're going to examine the exact strategies they used to navigate these absolute breaking points.
So, I want to pose this question directly to you. When history is at a breaking point, who steps up? Just imagine looking down the barrel of total collapse. Empires are crumbling all around you, massive armies are literally at your gates, and the world as you know it is on the brink of ending. What do? Well, the four historical giants we're looking at today didn't just survive these breaking points, they took bold, decisive action that completely altered the trajectory of human history.
Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First up, Alp Arslan, conqueror of Anatolia. Then we'll look at Nur ad-Din Zengi, the just king. Third is Qutuz, conqueror of the Mongols. Fourth, Al-Dakhil, Hawk of Quraysh. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with their great legacy.
All right, Part 1. Alp Arslan, conqueror of Anatolia. Our first leader is the Seljuk Sultan Alp Arslan. Now, he earned the epic title Adud al-Dawla, which really speaks to his immense strength when he was facing these massive existential stakes against the Romans. Now, what's really interesting here is the massive transformation in Anatolia right after his immortal victory at the Battle of Manzikert. Before this battle, the region was deeply rooted in Roman and Christian influence. But after Alp Arslan's win, boom, a major demographic shift. The region gradually took on this distinctly Islamic and Turkic character as locals started adopting Islam in their daily lives. So it wasn't just a military win, right? It was a total, foundational, societal transformation.
So the big question is, how did he actually manage this shift? Well, he didn't just conquer a place and leave. He actively worked to bring Turkic tribes all the way from Central Asia to settle in Anatolia, which was, the land of the Romans back then. And with these tribes came the Arabic and Persian languages spreading like wildfire. These very settlements became the exact nucleus that birthed the Ottoman Empire. Because of the groundwork Alp Arslan laid down here, the Ottomans would eventually overthrow the Romans for good, seize their capital of Constantinople, make it the heart of the Islamic Caliphate, and rename it Istanbul, the city of Islam.
Moving right along to Part 2, Nur ad-Din Zengi, the just king.
When Nur ad-Din Zengi inherited the rule of Aleppo, he didn't just see a single city. He envisioned a totally unified front. He went straight to work, uniting the fragmented cities of the Levant under his command. And as his emirate grew, he successfully halted the Second Crusade. But he didn't stop there. He then annexed Egypt, completely dismantled Fatimid rule, and brought the Muslims back together under the single banner of the Abbasid Caliph. But here's the kicker. Alongside all this state building and warfare, he heavily prioritized public welfare. He was actively spreading education and healthcare all throughout his territories.
Now, why is this unification absolutely crucial for history? Because he quite literally paved the runway for one of history's most famous figures. By stitching Egypt and the Levant together into one massive, cohesive state, Zengi created the geopolitical foundation that Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi, desperately needed. Seriously, without Zengi's foundational work, Saladin's later campaigns against the Crusaders and his famous liberation of Jerusalem, they simply would not have been possible. It's like a giant puzzle, and Zengi put the biggest pieces together.
And his reign was so profoundly defined by justice, fairness, and establishing the Sunni doctrine across the Levant and Egypt that he earned an unbelievable honor. Some historians actually refer to him as the sixth rightly guided caliph. Now that is a title normally reserved for the absolute most pious and just early leaders of Islam. So getting that title, it's a massive testament to his character and his leadership during a seriously chaotic era.
All right, Part 3. Qutuz, conqueror of the Mongols.
Now we shift to arguably the most terrifying crisis yet. Saifuddin Qutuz came to power during a time of agonizing setbacks for the Islamic world. The Mongols were advancing, and the pace of their destruction was just staggering. Phase 1. The powerful Khwarezmian state completely falls. Phase 2. Baghdad falls after a brutal siege. The city is totally sacked, and the Abbasid Caliph is killed. Phase 3. The terrifying domino effect continues as the Levant and Palestine submit to Hulagu. And then, finally, Phase 4. A miraculous, decisive halt at the Battle of Ain Jalut. And the commander at Ain Jalut was Qutuz.
Facing literal annihilation, he somehow managed to remobilize a totally fractured and demoralized Islamic army. He stood his ground and dealt the unstoppable Mongol forces a massive defeat. Then he actually pursued their fleeing remnants until he had completely freed the entire Levant from their control. This action effectively stopped the Mongol expansion into North Africa dead in its tracks and preserved the very core of the Islamic world. No way around it. He saved the world from annihilation.
And this brilliantly illustrates what might be the craziest part of this whole story, the time frame. Stopping the Mongol advance, liberating the Levant, and cementing his legacy as one of Egypt's greatest kings, he accomplished all of this in a reign that lasted for less than one single year. Less than 12 months to change the world forever. Absolutely incredible.
Which brings us to part 4, Al-Dakhil, Hawk of Quraysh.
For a final leader, we're shifting from the Middle East to a story of unbelievable individual grit, survival, and sheer strategic brilliance, with Abdal ar-Rahman al-Dakhil. Step 1. In the Islamic year 132 AH, or after Hijrah, the Umayyad state in Damascus collapses, and the Abbasids start hunting down Umayyad princes. Al-Dakhil manages to flee. Step 2. He spends 6 grueling years constantly on the run as a refugee. Step 3. He finally arrives in Andalus, modern-day Spain and Portugal, which is just blazing with chaos and endless division. But he actually manages to unite it under his command, systematically crushing rebellions. Step 4. He secures his borders against massive outside empires, famously defeating the huge campaign of Charlemagne, the Emperor of the French, at Zaragoza and Bab al-Sharzi.
So what exactly was the result of a single man fleeing for his life for 6 years, arriving in a divided land, and just refusing to give up? 781. That is the number of years that the incredibly strong Muslim state he founded in Andalus lasted. Think about that for a second. 781 years of profound legacy, all stemming from the unmatched resilience of just one individual.
And finally, part 5, A Great Legacy. Through the stories of Alp Arslan, Nur ad-Din Zengi, Qutuz, and Al-Dakhil, we see a really clear pattern. When civilizational collapse feels inevitable, vision and strategic action can literally bend the arc of history. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. How can you apply this level of resilience to your own life when facing impossible odds? History shows us that being backed into a corner isn't necessarily the end. Sometimes, actually, it's just the beginning of a centuries-long legacy. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.